The ECE department in the Jacobs building has this makerspace. And so we take care of all the students that come in there, whether or not they need help 3D printing something, laser cutting something. We help out in the soldering lab. Basically, we're just there to make sure everyone's using the tools properly and not causing any problems. I've always had something at home just to mess around on the weekends and times when I wasn't in class. But definitely being in quarantine has changed the dynamic of how I use the space. It used to just be a place that I could come and do work every now and then when I didn't have to do work at school. But when it became permanent, or at least mostly permanent, I definitely realized that it was lacking in a lot of areas. And so I did have to add a lot of things, reorganize a little bit, and generally make it more bearable to use on a day-to-day basis. A lot of the stuff is actually in my own bedroom, so that does limit certain things. Whenever I use these 3D printers, for example, one of them is a resin 3D printer. One of the hobbies it's used for is actually miniature painting. And so what you can do is you can go online and find any models that you want that have ever been created. Some are paid and some aren't. And you can print them out, cure them, and then you can primer and paint them by hand. It does take a while, but it is a nice hobby to have because it doesn't take up a whole lot of room. My main workspace has a paint rack, various different primers, stands for the models, and things like that. I used to be able to laser cut the bases at the ECE Makerspace, but unfortunately, since I haven't had access to a laser in quite a few months, I've actually found a way to 3D print bases as well, which it does take longer. Laser cutting only takes a few seconds. Printing usually takes a few minutes to an hour. So it does take longer, but you can create 3D models for your bases, so you can add little details and things that you couldn't before, which is nice. Another thing I guess that the area is set up for is obviously I'm an electrical engineer. I like to do electrical engineering projects at home as well. Um, so I have some basic tools, multimeter, um, power supply, soldering station, hot air rework, that sort of thing. And what is nice is printed circuit board modeling is something you do primarily on your computer. And so what you can do, and what I have been doing also, is you can design boards, different boards that do different things, whatever you like to do, Raspberry Pi projects, Arduino projects. You can design the boards and have them made for you within about a week or so. And you can have them shipped to you, and you can order the components and everything, and basically have everything sent to your house, and then you can assemble them with relatively few tools. And that is also a very fun way of, keeping busy, even if it's like something you just want to do to practice your major, or if it's something you enjoy as a hobby, that you can do at home. And I highly recommend it because all it really requires, at the bare minimum, is a soldering iron. I really enjoy keyboards. I'm a mechanical keyboard enthusiast and also kind of a maker, I guess. I did a beta run of a split keyboard a few years back. 15 people got to try it out, and they really enjoyed it. So I took that information, and I'm like, well, let's keep going. Mechanical keyboards are actually really easy to make for people that know how to do PCB design, because all the switches act as individual components that you can place in any way that you want. You can get very creative. A lot of people have like different patterns, like butterfly pattern, or staggering the switches differently. So instead of being staggered, I guess, horizontally, you can stagger them vertically to kind of fit the curvature of your hand and all these different things. And so it is very fun to experiment with different keyboard types. And that's actually what I've been working on recently, is a new type of keyboard. It uses a design called ortholinear, which means it's very fancy. It's a fancy way of saying it's a grid pattern. So the keys aren't staggered at all either direction. And supposedly that is actually more ergonomic, although I have yet to see because I haven't gotten the board yet.